Hello my beautiful people. So something a little different for you this time. You guys are used to seeing me read the tarot for you. You are used to me talking about numerology. It's time for some astrology. We are stepping into eclipse season, and yes, you will see the whole internet and all of YouTube is awash and abuzz with all of the with all about this stuff. I've got my trusty notes here. The reason I'm doing these solar eclipse specials, and we'll be doing all of the eclipse specials, is because not only is it a different energy, I mean, we've had a little dip into it, but this is where it gets real. This is where it gets, intense, and where it gets serious. And because we're switched from the Leo Aquarius axis, which, trust me, I felt, because I am a Leo rising and an Aquarius sun. So I really felt those ones, and actually I can now, looking back on it, really see the benefit of it. At the time it felt like absolute fucking shite, if I'm completely honest with you, because I felt like a ping pong ball in the middle of a storm out at sea. That's just the truth of it. You know, there were moments that were really great that I could see the benefit of, but there were some moments that I was like, do you know what, I don't know how this is going to serve my greater good, but in hindsight, I can see how it worked. So there's a couple of things that I want to talk about before we go into the video itself, right? And I've got, my trusty notes here, because as many of you know, astrology, tarot I can do with my eyes closed, right? In fact, I probably could do it with my eyes closed, even though it's all about the symbols, right? But just from the feeling, I would be able to do that. Whereas astrology is such a bigger and broader subject, and I don't have nearly as many years under my belt in that field as I do with the tarot, with the cards and the symbols there. So I always have notes because I'm just not as practiced. I call myself a baby astrologer. A lot of people say, I think you're being too harsh on yourself, but whatever, it's not about that. So with that said, before we go into your personal, horoscope, eclipse scope, tarot scope, whatever you want to call it, right? Yes, there will be tarot. Come on, that's what I do, right? There's a few things that I want to clarify on. So you see this, I've drawn it out, and yes, it looks pretty, and it looks mysterious, and it's got the symbols on the wheel and all the rest of it, and we're all familiar with what a chart looks like. Well, 90% of people nowadays are familiar with what a chart looks like. The problem that this chart creates is that people tend to see this kind of thing, especially a big event like an eclipse, as just a flash in the pan. They kind of see it like a static moment. And while it is true that the specific moment of the eclipse will imprint your life with a specific type of energy, right? And that's really important to remember. So when you read somebody's birth chart, when you look at somebody's personal astrology, when you see a personal one of these for somebody, what you're actually looking at is a specific moment in time that is imprinted into their DNA, right? There's, all of the stars aligned in a certain way to give you a certain energy that was going to unfold. Astrology breathes, it moves. Human beings are not, we're multifaceted. We move, we breathe, we grow, we change, we evolve. Just like the moon, we are cyclic. We go through great, awesome periods, and we go through low, sort of not so awesome periods. And that's one of the things that you really need to understand. This isn't just an event that will happen on this day and then you can forget about it. It's kind of like a toolbox. Imagine it's like a gift that the universe gives you on a specific day and says, right, here you go, I'm going to give you this, and you get to unpack that over the next 3 to 6 months. It's never just a flash in the pan moment, and this is why people talk about the eclipses so much, and why people often say, well, this will happen, over the next 3 to 6 months, and sometimes even further beyond. Like I said, I can see a lot of the stuff that I'm doing and living and experiencing now in relation to the eclipses that we finished up in Aquarius and Leo. So it's really relevant stuff, but you need to understand it's a process, not an event, right? It's an unfolding of energy that is imprinted into you on the specific day. So pay attention to that day, because it may well have elements of what this energy is going to be like for you over the next 6 months, what it might unfold, how it might grow. But don't let this video, don't let me, don't let anybody ever reduce you or your infinite beingness down to just a specific set of events that are all about your, oh well, your second house is your money. Yes, it does represent that, and it's good to know that. And it's great to see, if we can predict these things accurately, which is wonderful. But don't let anything, any system in the world, astrology, tarot, numerology, don't let me, any other reader, whether tarot reader, astrologer, whatever, don't let anyone or anything reduce you down to those separate sort of compartments. You are a multifaceted being. And it is good for you to, so there's the dualism, bad Rafi. And you are a multifaceted being, and it's important that you allow yourself to be all of that and to grow throughout these processes that take place, right? Don't ever limit yourself to anything that anyone tells you. You always get a chance to choose. Now, before I go off on a complete tangent, I will give you some overviews. So, solar eclipse is an initiatory energy. It's a beginning of some sort, because it's kind of like a supercharged or jacked up new moon that's like, yeah! It's got lots of energy behind it. And when you get a new moon, you've got the sun and the moon together, right? That in itself is the god and the goddess coming together in creation. Now, this one is taking place in Cancer, which is really important for loads of reasons. So the whole axis of Cancer and Capricorn are going to be lit up. Cancer represents the mother, in the fourth house, protection, love, nurturing, nourishment, that place that you go to seek shelter, to seek comfort, or even lock yourself away from the harsh realities of the outside world. It's your feelings, it's your attachments, it's your bonds, right? Whereas Capricorn, and the Cancer is the natural house of the moon as well, so it's really worth keeping an eye on that. And it represents the mother, because it comes in the guise of the fourth house. Whereas Capricorn, where we've got quite a lot going on in the opposite sign, and this is where the eclipses are going to bounce between, right, is the 10th house. This is the external structure, the things out in the world, but it's also the father. It's where we meet authority, it's where we meet governance, it's where we meet the things that we appear to not be able to change. It's where, the 10th house is your career, how you show up out in the world, how you are presented or received by the wider world. So these are really big things to look at, right? And because it's the father, it's the line in the sand that you meet, where you will go no further, where you meet authority, where you get that kind of, no, you will not pass, you cannot do this. And it's not always about the negative stuff. Sometimes it's to hold you back from something or to teach you a lesson, right? So when you see that mother-father axis, that's kind of what's going on there. So it's really important to pay attention to that stuff. What I've talked about, it's a process. Good to look at where this is happening. Right, so try and stay with me on this, and I'm using myself as an example so that you can do this for yourself, right? So look at where the eclipse is taking place, and then think about where that happens according to your sun, moon, and ascendant. So my moon sign, I'll start there, is in Cancer. So this suggests that my inner world, possibly even my home, may change over the next 3 to 6 months. Something about my emotional inner world, or even my home, my dwelling, may very well change because it's happened, or the identity of my home, or something of that nature may very well change, right? As a Leo ascendant, this is happening in my 12th house. My 12th house is all to do with the past, the things that are hidden, that are private, subconscious drives and not necessarily desires and urges, but it can also be hidden enemies. It could be people that don't necessarily, present themselves as one thing, but don't necessarily mean you good. Then finally, as an Aquarius, this is happening in my 6th house, which is all to do with my work. So something to do with my old work, my old workplace, my old work life could be coming through. So those are my big three, sun, moon, and ascendant, right? It's good for you to find out where they are, because it's going to give you that kind of different dynamic of understanding, so that you get an idea of where this is happening, why, not why it's happening, you know why, because of the astrology, how it's likely to unfold, and what that could possibly mean for you. So one of the things that I've put here is it could suggest that things are about to take a big leap forward over the 6 months because of services rendered, right? So the 12th house is the past, and the 6th house is work. So it could be some efforts that I've already sown in my own personal past over the last 6 months may now start to yield results or dividends or rewards, you know, depending on what I've put out there. And I'm currently crossing fingers, toes and bits at the moment, like thinking back like, shit, have I done enough? Hopefully I have. You know, I've done my best to be of complete service to you guys in and of the world. So with that said, let's get to the personal astrology for each sign. Take care. See you in a moment. Hi Taurus, welcome to your solar eclipse special with me, Raphael from Radiant Reality. So we're just going to go straight into it. So the eclipse, the solar eclipse in Cancer, is happening in your 3rd house, right? So your 3rd house is all to do with your communication. It's how you speak, it's how you write, it's how you present yourself in the words that you speak, in the speech that you use. All of that sort of stuff shows up in the 3rd house, but ultimately it's about writing, speaking, communication. And this is really exciting for you because it suggests that something about that is going to change. As I mentioned in the blurb before, right, it's an initiatory energy that's going to welcome something into your life. Now, an eclipse as itself is a beginning, is welcoming in, you know, that kind of energy. I've got my trusty notes here as well, which I'll be working from. So the other thing about this is you might be finding that you are networking more, reaching out to people, connecting with people that can really help facilitate your growth, but also people who understand you, right? People who get the words that you're using, or people who use similar language or communicate in a similar way. Now, the thing with the 3rd house as well is it can represent siblings, it can represent neighbors, it can represent like your everyday commute to and from work and all of that. It's like your local area. Now, the thing to remember about that is by connecting to people in your local area, your profile grows, right? It changes, or you could find that you are communicating with people in those areas even more so on a daily basis. This is a fantastic time for you to get clear on your life mission and to prep something big behind the scenes in order for you to communicate out to a larger audience at a later date. So this is going to be a process, right? Remember I talked about that in the blurb. So that's the eclipse itself. Right opposite that, you've got in your 9th house, you've got Saturn and the South Node. Now, this is giving you the kind of energy that's connecting to your belief system, your belief structure, what you believe, why you believe it, where those beliefs came from. This is your higher perspectives, how you connect with people in, you know, that are different to you, foreign cultures, foreign lands, it's even travel. And because you've got that happening as an opposition, these are both vying for your attention in some way, shape or form, and it sees you seeking to find balance in those areas. So your 3rd house is your communication, how you speak, how you show up, how you communicate, how you write, what you're interested in, what you study, right? And then the Saturn South Node aspect of it in your 9th is really asking you, do the things connect? Does what you believe and what you talk about, do they tally up? And if not, why not? Where are they coming from? What is it that you can know about them? I've also got here as well, as it's opposing your 3rd, you could find that there are some challenges to your beliefs now, right? Both the new ones that are coming in and the old ones that you've already carried. It asks you, will you fight for what you believe? And if not, do you actually believe it? Right? And that's a really big question. When you're looking at what you actually believe, you ask yourself, okay, will I stand by this? If it comes under scrutiny from the outside world, as it may very well, because you've got the opposition there, right? This is Capricorn, the outer world, challenging the eclipse in Cancer, which is the inner world, right? But for you, this is it's your, it's the out there, the other, the people out there, and also my beliefs or my communicating. This may come under fire, and it's to show you or to highlight to you what the patterns are that have possibly held you back in some way, shape or form. And that's good information to have, right? The squares and the oppositions tend to be the things that give us the most shit, and the reason they do that is so that we can make a conscious change. Then you've got Jupiter and Neptune squaring off, right? So I mentioned the square is an uncomfortable aspect. The thing about a square for me though is it creates enough tension or enough annoyance within you to say, right, you know what, this doesn't work for me, I'm going to change this experience, right? It kind of riles you up in some way and says, right, fuck that, I'm not happy with this experience, I'm going to do something else with it. So this is happening between your 8th and 11th houses, right? Your 8th house is your, it's other people's money, right? It's the money that you get from other people. It's how you make money from other people, or how they give money to you, or how it presents itself to you. The 11th house is groups, right? It's other people. So the fact that these are squaring off, so you've got the 8th house there, where you see the hidden things. This could also see you delving into, not delving into, but yeah, looking at the occult sciences in some way, shape or form. Because this is where you find tarot, it's where you find esoteric sort of and occult wisdom, other means of knowledge. And it could see you researching a lot of your beliefs, right? Because you've got this whole thing going on in your 9th house, and Saturn is mastery, right? So it asks you, if you want this, you're going to have to work for it, right? And because you've got the South Node there, that's a release point. That's where you let something go. And the way that you let something go is by bringing something else in, right? So you could see that this is happening. And then because it's squaring Neptune, which is also at home and in its strength, because Jupiter is ruled by Sagittarius, Neptune is ruled by Pisces, and vice versa, right? So this could see larger groups and communities coming into the mix. Now, what it suggests is there's something about this, there's something about the way that groups are managed in the wider world. It could be the way that religious groups are managed, how you see religious groups and say, you know what, that doesn't work for me, I don't like that. So you're using the 8th house aspect in Jupiter to uncover truth, to find occult wisdom and bring it to the masses, so that you can say to people, look, they're preaching you this when actually the truth of it is this, right? It could see you really doing that. And because your 3rd house is being eclipsed and is there, this could see you really speaking up and becoming that warrior for the people and saying, you know what, these people have been lying to you about this, this and this, so I'm going to tell you the truth of how it actually is, because I've done the research, because I have this 11th house thing going on with the Pisces aspect, where you're looking at people and saying, you know what, I love people, I love groups of people, and I want to take them somewhere that is going to be truly beneficial for them. So it might come through the guise of you seeing something that really pisses you off, and you say, look, you know what, I'm going to change that, and I'm going to use this eclipse energy, my communication out to the world, in order to create the change that I want to see for the betterment of people. Neptune, Pisces, right in the 11th house there for you. So it also, it says it requires change, but it also suggests that a longer term goal will require more consideration than you first thought. So if you're working on something behind the scenes, it just means that you might need more information than you currently have. And with the aspects that are going on, you have what you need, right? The beauty of this as well, when you talk about the aspects, why are they important? Because they unfold, not because they just happen and then they pass off. So the Uranus and the eclipse point we need to talk about, and the reason we need to talk about is because my ruler, Uranus, is currently in your sign, right? Especially if you're an ascendant, this will be especially relevant for you. So between your 1st house and your 3rd house, what you've got going on is a sudden shift or understanding in how you present yourself, and the words that you use in relation to yourself. How you present information is going through a big change. You might find sudden ways or ways over the internet to connect to more people, to speak to more people, to bring them knowledge and information in different ways on different subjects. Could see your daily interactions or communication changing in some way, and it may be sometimes it makes me wonder if you're opening up or clearing your inner dialogue in some way, therefore showing others how to do the same. The first house is you, right? It's you in your entirety. The third house is how you communicate. So how you communicate about yourself is definitely changing, but your internal dialogue, what you say to yourself, how you speak to yourself, how you encourage, nurture, nourish yourself through the Cancerian aspect, and then the Uranus aspect is saying a lot of this will be going on lightning fast. There's going to be a lot of change and a lot of shift happening for you over the next 3 to 6 months, as it will be for all of us, because that's how it unfolds. So let's have a look what the tarot has to say for you. And you get the Chariot card, right, which is victory, it's success. It suggests that you come out on top over your own ego in some way, shape or form. And that's a really powerful place to be in, because once you conquer your internal dialogue, right? I love the way this stuff works. Once you conquer your internal dialogue and all of those things, it really gives you a better understanding of who you are. How you talk to yourself is everything, because once you've cracked that soul, once you've cracked and solved that puzzle, you can show people the blueprint that you used in order to get there, in order to have that victory and success over self, and then communicate it out to the wider world. Very, very exciting time. Let me know in the comments how it shapes up for you. Take care, and I'll see you soon.